Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is Vaibhav Jyotsna Srivastav and with me is Renuka, bringing glimpses of major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. As the world fights the COVID-19 pandemic, we begin with a message of caution to stay safe and protected by following these three simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. The headlines. Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development OECD projects India's economic growth to be the fastest in the world, revises prediction by 4.7 percentage points to 12.6% for 2021-22. Sri Lanka receives 10 state-of-the-art railway passenger coaches from India. U.S. Defense Secretary General Lloyd J. Austin to visit India on the 19th of March, Indo-Pacific cooperation in focus. Washington says Chinese government should have no role in the succession process of the Dalai Lama. Russia slows down online access to the micro-blogging platform Twitter. India-Uzbekistan joint military exercise Dustlik 2 commences in Ranikhet, Uttarakhand. And in football, PSG will take on Barcelona in the UEFA Champions League, entry into the quarterfinals at stake. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, has raised the projection for India's economic growth rate by 4.7 percentage points at 12.6% for 2021-22. The revision would enable India to retain its earlier tag of the fastest growing large economy in the world. In its interim report on economic outlook, OECD said activity moved above pre-pandemic levels in India, helped by strong fiscal and quasi-fiscal measures and a recovery in manufacturing and construction. It, however, pegged economic growth rate to come down to 5.4% in 2022-23, which would be higher by 0.6 percentage points than its earlier estimates. That year, India would share its fastest growing large economy tag with Indonesia, according to the OECD. The Indian economy was projected to decline by 8% in the current fiscal year. However, OECD believes that contraction would be less steep at 7.4%. In the report titled Strengthening the Recovery, the Need for Speed, OECD said fiscal measures announced in India and a few other countries would help growth in 2021-22 as well. Additional discretionary fiscal measures announced in several countries during the past 3 months will add to the overall support, including in the US, Japan, Germany, Canada and India, the report said. The OECD also unveiled major upgrades to its global outlook, saying that economic prospects have improved markedly in recent months thanks to the deployment of coronavirus vaccines and additional stimulus announcements.
Sri Lanka has received 10 state-of-the-art railway passenger coaches from India. The Indian High Commission in Colombo announcing the arrival of the coaches on Wednesday tweeted that India-Sri Lanka cooperation in the transport sector continues to expand with the arrival. The coaches have been supplied by India as part of the supply of 160 coaches to Sri Lankan Railways by the Rail India Technical and Economic Service, RITES. The supply of coaches to Sri Lankan Railways by RITES is being financed through an Indian line of credit. In another development, India's Minister of Railways Piyush Goyal on Wednesday flagged off the shipment of 2 locomotives to Mozambique under a line of credit for $95 million. The locomotives were indigenously developed by Banaras Locomotive Works, Varanasi. Mr. Goyal said the export of locomotives to Mozambique shall boost the Indo-African relationship and pilot the economic empowerment through export. The Indian Railways is exporting first batch of 2 locomotives as part of total order of 6 locomotives of 3000 HP Cape Gauge locomotive and 90 stainless steel passenger coaches to Mozambique. These locomotives are developed indigenously by Banaras Locomotive Works under Make in India. They are being exported through Indian Railways PSU Rights Limited. In spirit of Atmanirbhar Bharat, these Cape Gauge diesel locos have been designed in India, made in India and financed by India. Speaking on the occasion, Mr. Goel said, under Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visionary leadership and his commitment to further strengthen African-Indian relations, we will work as Mozambique's trusted partner. He said, with significant innovation, remodeling and upgradation, Indian Railways wishes to become the preferred supplier of Mozambique and countries around the world for all their requirements. The minister said India is willing to support further development of rail network in Mozambique. He said by 2030, the Indian Railways plan to become a net zero railway and power the entire electricity requirements by renewable energy. Mr. Goel said the Indian Railways will be the first large railway in the world to become 100% electric traction driven. Minister of Transport and Communications of Mozambique, Janfer Abdullahi, thanked the Government of India for the cooperation in the area of transportation.
U.S. Defense Secretary General Lloyd J. Austin will be on a 3-day visit to India from the 19th of this month. Secretary of Defense Lloyd J. Austin will travel to India to meet Minister of Defense Rajnath Singh and other senior national security leaders to discuss deepening the U.S.-India major defense partnership. Secretary Austin in a tweet said that he will embark on his first overseas trip on Saturday. In a statement, the U.S. Department of Defense said that Secretary Austin will meet his counterparts and other senior officials to discuss the importance of international defense relationships. He will also reinforce the United States' commitment to a free and open Indo-Pacific region founded on respect for international rules, laws and norms. Defense Minister of India, Mr. Rajnath Singh, in a tweet said that he looks forward to Secretary Austin's visit. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be participating in the first Leaders Summit of the Quadrilateral Framework being held virtually on the 12th of March 2021. Mr. Modi will participate in the Quad meet along with Prime Minister of Australia Scott Morrison and Prime Minister of Japan Yoshihide Suga and President of USA Joe Biden. Ahead of the occasion, the White House spokeswoman Jen Psaki said that the fact that the meet would be President Joe Biden's first such multilateral meet speaks of its significance.
On Friday morning, President Biden will meet virtually with his counterparts in the Quad, Prime Minister Suga of Japan, Prime Minister Modi of India, and Prime Minister Morrison of Australia. Formed in the aftermath of the 2004 tsunami and formalized in 2007, the Quad has met regularly at the working and foreign minister level. However, Friday will be the first time that the Quad is meeting at the leader level. That President Biden has made this one of his earliest multilateral engagements speaks to the importance we place on close cooperation with our allies and partners in the Indo-Pacific. A range of issues, of course, will be discussed. We expect to be discussed, I should say, facing the global community, from the threat of COVID to economic cooperation and, of course, to the climate crisis.
Cooperation in the Indo-Pacific region will be a key area of discussion at the upcoming Quad meet. Spokesperson of the U.S. State Department, Ned Price, speaking to the media, said that the U.S. views itself as a Pacific nation.
The fact that the White House will be taking part in this summit, the fact that Secretary Blinken met at the ministerial level with his Quad counterparts, it was important for us to underline in the early days of this administration our commitment to the Indo-Pacific. As we said from this podium, it's a region that holds tremendous promise for the United States, also tremendous challenge. We see ourselves as a Pacific nation. We see ourselves as engaged in this region. We want to deepen that engagement. And this is an important forum with important partners with whom we share a good deal of interest. So it was important for us to demonstrate that early on.
Mr. Ned Price also stated that the Quad meet would look at all areas of shared interest to the group members and is not aimed at any one particular issue.
The Quad is a grouping with important friends and allies of the United States, and it's a grouping that is predicated on shared interests. There are any number of shared interests. Some of them involve maritime security, global health, climate. So I would hesitate to point to one animating challenge that the Quad is set to address today. We are engaging with the Quad to take on those collective shared interests that will be relevant in that setting.
The Health Ministry of India has said that a total of 2,43,67,906 COVID-19 vaccine doses were administered across the country so far. Country's COVID-19 recovery rate reached 96.96%. A total number of 17,921 new cases have been reported in the country in the past 24 hours. Now let's take a look at the coronavirus updates from around the world.
In China, regional CDC officials from across the country have been ordered to accelerate the mass inoculations with higher targets and faster rates. According to reports, the accelerated vaccine campaign is aimed at catching up with the countries leading in vaccination rates as fast as possible to avoid an immunization gap. China has also pledged 10 million doses to the COVAX facility, which aims to distribute at least 2 billion doses this year. Till now, China has not contributed to this mechanism as they are yet to pass WHO vetting on safety and effectiveness. European Council President Charles Michel rejected claims of vaccine nationalism against the EU. Michel tweeted that the EU is providing vaccines for its citizens and the rest of the world. The European bloc has recently come under intense criticism for its vaccine rollout program. Critics allege that the rollout is much slower than former member UK or the US and is providing fewer vaccines to less well-off countries when compared to China, Russia or India. The EU will also receive an extra 4 million doses of the BioNTech Pfizer vaccine over the next 2 weeks, European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen announced on Wednesday. Russia signed a deal to produce its Sputnik V vaccine in Italy. The vaccine has not been approved for use by the EU. EU's drug regulator, the European Medicines Agency, EMA, started reviewing the vaccine last week. Brazil registered a new record with 1,972 COVID-related deaths in a single day on Tuesday, according to the country's health ministry. World Trade Organization WTO head Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala called for boosting COVID-19 vaccine production in poorer nations. Abhishek Mukhopadhyay for World News, All India Radio.
This is All India Radio giving you the world news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
3 steps to stay protected and stay safe from COVID-19. Wear face mask, 2 gaz ki duri to maintain social distancing, maintain hand and face hygiene.
Russia's media regulator announced on Wednesday that it was slowing down online access to the microblogging platform Twitter. The regulator said the decision was taken to protect Russian citizens. We have a report.
According to reports, a Russian official has said that the slowdown of Twitter services will only affect images and video, not text. They also confirmed that the measures would stay in place until the platform has removed all the content under complaint. Roskomnadzor, Russia's federal body regulating the media, based its decision on Twitter's failure to remove illegal content. The regulator cited 2,569 cases of users inciting minors to commit suicide, 450 cases of child pornography, and 149 cases of information on drug use, according to reports. The statement indicated that Roskomnadzor had made over 28,000 complaints to Twitter since 2017, including repeated requests to remove illegal links and publications. Moscow has been increasingly tightening its grip on US-based social media platforms in an attempt to make them abide by Russian laws. In December, the Russian Parliament's lower house passed 2 bills that would give greater power to the state to punish companies such as Facebook and Twitter. The bills included powers to fine the platforms for failing to delete banned content and allowing restrictions if they discriminate against Russian media organizations. In August of last year, Twitter began tagging posts from certain Russian media accounts as state-affiliated media. Abhishek Mukhopadhyay for World News, All India Radio.
British regulators on Monday fined Chinese state broadcaster CGTN €260,000. We have a report.
The decision to fine CGTN comes a month after Ofcom revoked the license of CGTN. Ofcom also handed out nearly €150,000 in fines over 5 programs that aired in 2019, covering the Hong Kong pro-democracy protests. The programs were found to have failed to maintain due impartiality, according to Ofcom. Last month, Chinese regulators banned BBC World News, claiming the global network seriously violated the country's broadcasting rules. The ban followed a hard-hitting report about Beijing's treatment of the country's Uyghur minority. Nishit Kumar for World News.
The decision to fine CGTN comes a month after Ofcom revoked the license of CGTN. The United States of America has reiterated its policy that China has no role with regard to the succession process of the Dalai Lama. Responding to media queries, spokesperson of the White House, Mr. Ned Price, made the statement on Tuesday.
Well, we believe that the Chinese government should have no role in the succession process of the Dalai Lama. Beijing's interference in the succession of the Panchen Lama more than 25 years ago, including by quote-unquote disappearing the Panchen Lama as a child and attempting to replace him with a PRC government-chosen successor, it remains an outrageous abuse of religious freedom.
The U.S. Congress under the Trump administration, the Tibetan Policy and Support Act of 2020, TPSA, in December 2020. The act made it an official United States policy that decisions regarding the reincarnation of the Dalai Lama are exclusively within the authority of the current Dalai Lama, Tibetan Buddhist leaders, and the Tibetan people.
A Brazilian court has cleared criminal convictions against former President Louise Inacio Lula da Silva on Monday. Lula was charged with corruption and money laundering. According to reports, he was convicted in 2017 with bribery for accepting a seaside apartment from a construction company in exchange for lucrative government contracts. A year later, another court found him guilty for corruption. Lula is a co-founder of the leftist Workers' Party in Brazil. This is All India Radio giving you the world news. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday had a telephonic conversation with Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud. Both leaders reviewed the functioning of the Bilateral Strategic Partnership Council established in 2019 and expressed satisfaction about the steady growth in the India-Saudi partnership. Mr. Modi expressed his desire to further expand trade and investment between the two countries and highlighted the opportunities that the Indian economy offers to Saudi investors. The leaders agreed to continue supporting each other's efforts against the COVID-19 pandemic in the spirit of the special friendship and people-to-people links between India and Saudi Arabia. They also reviewed regional and international developments of mutual interest. The Prime Minister reiterated his invitation to the Crown Prince to visit India at an early date. Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla has said that energy connectivity is one of the most dynamic sectors of cooperation in India's relationship with Bangladesh. He said that India-Bangladesh cooperation in hydrocarbon sector is diversifying into the entire value chain of the oil and gas sector. Speaking about new initiatives in the cooperation between India and Bangladesh in the electricity sector, Harshvardhan Shringla said that discussion is ongoing regarding the construction of a 765 kilowatt power interconnection through Katihar in India via Parbatipur in Bangladesh to Bornagar in India. When constructed, he said it will reinforce interconnection of grids in the region. He said that a proposal for supplying RLNG through a cross-border pipeline and establishment of an LNG terminal are also being explored. Inaugurating the South Asia Group on Energy stage at the Research and Information System, RIS, in Delhi on Wednesday, Foreign Secretary Shringla said that India is working assiduously to promote the sub-region comprising Bhutan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Myanmar and India as an energy hub. India is taking the lead to promote regional approach to energy needs in both conventional and non-conventional sources.
A World Bank report said that improved transport connectivity between India and Bangladesh could increase India's export by 172%, while Bangladesh export to India could almost rise 3 times. The report on the challenges and opportunities of transport integration in East and South Asia notes that seamless transport connectivity between India and Bangladesh has the potential to increase national income of Bangladesh by 17% and 8% in India. Pointing out the scale of bilateral trade, the report says that it accounts for 10% of Bangladesh trade, while it is just about 1% for India. It calls for enhancing bilateral trade by removing tariff and non-tariff barriers. World Bank Country Director for Bangladesh and Bhutan, Mercy Tembon, says that geographically Bangladesh is placed as a strategic gateway to India, Nepal, Bhutan and other East Asian countries. Bangladesh can become an economic powerhouse by improving regional trade, transit and logistics networks. Commending the increase in bilateral trade between India and Bangladesh, Mercy Tembon points out that the trade is still $10 billion below its current potential. The report says that all districts in Bangladesh would benefit from integration, while Indian states bordering Bangladesh will also gain substantially with seamless connectivity. Indian Navy's third stealth Scorpene-class submarine INS Karanj was commissioned on Wednesday at the Mumbai Naval Dockyard. INS Karanj would form part of the Western Naval Command's submarine fleet and would be another potent part of the command's arsenal. Former Chief of Naval Staff V.S. Shekhawat, Admiral Karambir Singh, Chief of the Naval Staff, and other senior officers from the Indian Navy and Ministry of Defence were among those present in the ceremony. While addressing, Admiral Karambir Singh said this impetus to indigenization and Atmanirbhar Bharat is a fundamental tenet of Indian Navy's growth story and future operational capabilities. The chief guest, Admiral Shekhawat, also highlighted India's push towards Atmanirbharta by saying, "We live in an India launching numerous satellites, building nuclear submarines, manufacturing vaccines for the world. The new Karanj is another example of it."
The India-Uzbekistan joint military exercise Dust Lake 2 commenced on Wednesday in foreign training node Ranikhet in Uttarakhand. This is the second edition of annual bilateral joint exercise of both the armies. It will continue till 19th of March 2021. The first edition of the exercise was held at Uzbekistan in November 2019. 45 soldiers, each from Uzbekistan and the Indian Army, are participating in the exercise. Both contingents will be sharing their expertise and skills in the field of counter-terrorist operations in mountainous, rural and urban scenario under UN mandate. The exercise will culminate into a 36-hour joint validation exercise scheduled from 17th to 18th of March 2021. The validation exercise will be a test bed for the soldiers of both the armies as they would be undergoing the challenges of actual operations in such scenarios. In a statement, the Defence Ministry said that the joint exercise will definitely provide impetus to the ever-growing military and diplomatic ties between the two nations and also reflect the strong resolve of both nations to counter terrorism. The Indian Embassy in Myanmar has said that India's position on the Myanmar issue is well known and has been clearly articulated. The embassy was responding to reports on social media about India's role in deliberations on Myanmar in the UN Security Council. In a tweet, the Indian embassy said that the reports are mischievous and biased. It added that the United Nations Security Council is seized of the matter and asked the people for the outcome.
The 10th of March is the birth anniversary of renowned space scientist Professor U.R. Rao. Mr. Rao made original contributions to the development of space technology in India and its extensive application to communications and remote sensing of natural resources. We have a report.
Udupi Ramachandra Rao was the chairman of the governing council of the Physical Research Laboratory at Ahmedabad and the chancellor of the Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology at Thiruvananthapuram. Convinced of the imperative need to use space technology for rapid development, Professor Rao undertook the responsibility for the establishment of satellite technology in India in 1972. Under his guidance, beginning with the first Indian satellite, Aryabhatta, in 1975, over 18 satellites were designed and launched for providing communication, remote sensing and meteorological services. After taking charge as Chairman, Space Commissioner and Secretary, Department of Space in 1984, Professor Rao accelerated the development of rocket technology, resulting in the successful launch of ASLV rocket and the operational PSLV launch vehicle, which can launch 2-ton class of satellite into polar orbit. Professor Rao initiated the development of the geostationary launch vehicle, GSLV, and the development of cryogenic technology in 1991. Professor Rao had published over 350 scientific and technical papers and authored many books. He was awarded Padma Bhushan by the Government of India in 1976 and the Padma Vibhushan in 2017. Professor U.R. Rao became the first Indian space scientist to be inducted into the highly prestigious Satellite Hall of Fame at Washington, D.C., USA on March 19, 2013. Abhishek Mukhopadhyay for World News, All India Radio.
Benchmark domestic stocks today logged gains of 0.5% amid mixed global cues. The rupee appreciated 2 paise against the US currency. We have a report from the business world.
The BSE Sensex rose 254 points or 0.5% to finish at 51,280, and the NSE Nifty climbed 76 points or 0.51% to close at 15,175. The broader market at BSE also appreciated, outperforming the Sensex. The BSE Mid Cap Index gained 0.77% and the BSE Small Cap Index surged 0.95%. In the Sensex pack, shares of 23 companies gained while 7 logged losses. In sectoral indices, 15 out of 19 sectors logged gains. In the global equity market, most of the Asian stocks today closed with losses, trading in a narrow range. Hong Kong's Hang Seng managed to finish with gains of 0.5%. Japan's Nikkei 225 also logged marginal gains but ended almost flat. On the other hand, China's Shanghai Composite Index slipped 0.1%, South Korea's Kospi fell 0.6%, and Singapore's Straits Times declined 0.9%. European shares were also trading almost flat in intraday trade. Oil prices added marginally in intraday trade. Brent crude prices were trading around $67.60 per barrel. Back home, gold prices fell 140 rupees per 10 gram at multi-commodity exchange for April contracts, in sync with losses in the global markets. Gold futures was at around 44,720 rupees per 10 gram. Silver prices also slipped 700 rupees to around 66,780 rupees per kilogram for March contracts. And at the forex market, the rupee added marginally by 2 paisa to 72 rupees and 91 paisa against the US dollar. Anubha Rohatgi for World News, All India Radio.
And now moving on to sports. International Olympic Committee President Thomas Bach has informed that the Tokyo Olympics will go ahead safely from mid-July. In his remarks at the start of a 3-day virtual IOC session, Mr. Bach said that Tokyo was the best prepared Olympic city. Tokyo 2020, already delayed by 12 months due to the coronavirus pandemic, will be held amid tight health measures and the likely absence of international visitors, according to the reports. In the second round of the Dubai Duty-Free Championships, top seed Elena Svitolina of Ukraine was defeated by Russia's Svetlana Kuznetsova. Third-seeded Arina Sablenka of Belarus advanced in straight sets, while Karolina Pliskova of Czech Republic beat Latvia's Anastasia Savatsova in a 3-set match. In football, French club PSG will face off against Spanish club Barcelona in the UEFA Champions League round of 16 match in a few hours from now. Barcelona is looking to overturn a 4-1 first-leg deficit against PSG. Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. The Washington Post reported that an Andrian Zenz, an academic, faces Chinese lawsuit for exposing human rights abuses in Xinjiang. Wall Street Journal reports that South Korea will pay the U.S. more than $7 billion over 6 years under a new agreement sharing cost of American troops on the Korean peninsula. The Guardian writes that a $100 billion U.S. plan to build new nuclear missiles sparks concerns of a Cold War-era weapon amongst scientists. Globe and the Mail writes that U.S. lawmakers are set to introduce antitrust legislation aimed at helping news media negotiate with big tech. The Telegraph reported that UK police protection for the Sussexes was withdrawn after they had stepped down from day-to-day royal duties. Gulf Time reports that Qatar recorded a remarkable drop in road traffic accidents in 2020 with a sharp decrease of 28.3%.
A quick look at the headlines once again. Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, projects India's economic growth to be the fastest in the world. Revises prediction by 4.7 percentage points to 12.6% for 2021-22. Sri Lanka receives 10 state-of-the-art railway passenger coaches from India. U.S. Defense Secretary General Lloyd J. Austin to visit India on the 19th of March. Indo-Pacific cooperation in focus. Washington says Chinese government should have no role in the succession process of the Dalai Lama. Russia slows down online access to the microblogging platform Twitter. India-Uzbekistan joint military exercise Dustlik 2 commences in Ranikhet, Uttarakhand. And in football, PSG will take on Barcelona in the UEFA Champions League, entry into the quarterfinals at stake. India is celebrating the 151st birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Before we end, let us listen to his favorite bhajan, Vaishnavajan, by artists from Uzbekistan. And with that, we end this bulletin. See you at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.